Funding for the VDRDC in this webinar was provided by the U.S. Department of Education under grant number H327J110005. However, the contents of this webinar do not necessarily represent the policy of the U.S. Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government.
My name is Jason Stark. I'm director of the Described and Captioned Media Program. We're thrilled to be hosting this webinar for the Video Description Research and Development Center. I want to take just a moment to go over a few items. This webinar is the fourth and final in the webinar series. Archived versions of the previous sessions are available at webinars.dcmp.org, the same page used to register. Questions can be submitted at any time by typing them into the webinar chat box. You may also email your questions to webinar@dcmp.org. After the webinar, you'll receive a link to a survey. We welcome your feedback. CEU credit is available for participation in this webinar. A question on the feedback form asks if you're interested in this credit. Once the form is submitted and your attendance is verified, a certificate will be emailed. And now, I'd like to introduce Dr. Josh Mealy, Director of the Video Description Research and Development Center.
Welcome, everyone, to the fourth and final Smith Kettlewell Video Description Research and Development Center webinar. Today we are talking about Going Pro with UDescribe, and we are delighted to be broadcasting from the San Francisco Lighthouse, who has done an incredible job of getting the technical and practical details arranged for us to be here with you today. I would also like to, of course, thank the Described and Captioned Media Program, who assisted, who is the host at the other end of our broadcast, making sure that our feed gets out to the world and handling all sorts of incredible logistics for our webinar. Jason, can you hear me? Jason at DCMP, can you hear me? All right. So we're still trying to get some of the feeds ironed out, but that'll work out by the time we are ready to roll. So I want to tell you what we're here. First of all, my name is Josh Mealy. I'm the director of the Video Description Research and Development Center at Smith Kettlewell, and we are the developers of UDescribe, as well as a number of other technologies and research projects that have been taking place over the last couple of years with the support of many partners and the financial support of the Department of Education and the Office of Special Education Programs. So we are very happy to have been able to do this work with these partners. One of the most important things that we've been able to produce is this program, this website called UDescribe, which allows anybody, anywhere to describe any YouTube video and share that audio description with the world. We developed it initially for use by teachers and parents, but what we're going to be talking about today is how UDescribe can be used in what I'm already thinking of as non-traditional settings. So with us, we have a number of very exciting and knowledgeable guests. We have Greg Corrett, the Director of Accessible Information Services from the San Francisco Lighthouse for the Blind and Visually Impaired, where we're being hosted. Thank you very much, Greg. Welcome. We also have Rick Boggs, the Executive Director of Audio Eyes, which is an accessible media company down in Los Angeles. Rick's company is well known for its work in audio description, captioning, and other types of accessible media and media production. Welcome, Rick.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks very much for being here. On my left is Lucy Greco, who is the Web Accessibility Analyst for the University of California at Berkeley, a very large university here in the Bay Area. And Lucy has responsibility for making sure that web services and related materials are accessible for the students and employees at UC Berkeley. Welcome, Lucy. Also on the line, I believe I have with me Ryan Honey. Or Ryan, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Ryan from the Braille Institute. He is director of shoot, I lost my notes here, but development director. And also Nancy, I'm going to ask you to pronounce your last name for me.
That's Niebrugge.
Okay. So Nancy is the Assistant Vice President of National Programs, and they have been using UDescribe down at the Braille Institute in Los Angeles to make a bunch of their media accessible using UDescribe. So thank you all very much for being here. Jason, can you hear me? Jason at DCMP?
Yes, I can, Josh.
Excellent. Okay, so glad that's working now. Jason, I wanted to give you a minute or two to say a piece about DCMP. Did you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. Had it pre-recorded at the introduction there, but we'll rehash that. Just wanted to second your welcome to all the participants and mention that we do have captioning in English provided by CaptionMax, captioning in Spanish, as well as Spanish translation provided by Decapta, and those buttons are available via the player window. Chat questions can be submitted via the chat box or emailed to webinars@dcmp.org. And we will be sending a follow-up survey after the event. Connected to that is the availability of CEU credit. If you're interested in that CEU credit, need to fill out the survey. And once we confirm your attendance at the event, we will email the certificate. So looking forward to a great event.
Excellent. And Jason will also be voicing for us the audience questions. We'll be pausing periodically in our discussion for webinar participant questions, and Jason will be voicing those for us as we when we come to that section. To begin, I'd like to give you a quick video presentation that was developed by DCMP in collaboration with the Smith-Kettlewell Video Description Research and Development Center, explaining what UDescribe is. It's a 1-minute video, and it's available on YouTube and UDescribe. So please, can we roll that?
UDescribe, a revolutionary new free tool for making video content accessible to millions of children and adults who are blind or visually impaired. For the first time, anyone can add description to any YouTube video. The process is easy. Simply register for a free UDescribe account, choose any YouTube video, and start recording description with your own computer and microphone. Once the video has been described, it can be watched on udescribe.org, shared with others via social networks or email, and can even be embedded in your own website. Start using UDescribe now at udescribe.org or watch an informational webinar describing the process in detail at webinar.dcmp.org. UDescribe was developed by the Smith-Kettlewell Video Description Research and Development Center. Funding provided by the U.S. Department of Education. Grant number H327J110005.
Awesome. So thank you very much. Anybody who's watching this who'd like to share a quick tidbit about what UDescribe is with your colleagues or anything, that video is a great place to point them to start out. Again, you can find it on the VDRDC YouTube channel and on YouTube. So one regret that I have is that our one of our most valued collaborators and UDescribe supporters, Ting Su, who is a teacher of the visually impaired and a PhD student at UC Berkeley and San Francisco State University, came down with a horrendous flu yesterday, and she called me this morning and wanted to be brought in by phone, and she sounded like she should not be on the webinar. She should be headed to the hospital. So I told her that we would get along fine without her, but we sent her good wishes. And I'm going to try to cover some of the material that I would have discussed with Ting. Basically, Ting has recorded a number of descriptions using UDescribe. And by the way, UDescribe is, as the video mentioned, at udescribe.org. And anybody can go and watch. You don't need to register in order to watch the videos and listen to the descriptions. But if you want to create a description, you do need to register so that your describer name can be associated with that description. And it's extremely easy. Really, all you need to do, and this is, by the way, described in several prior DCMP VDRDC webinars that you can get to at webinars.dcmp.org. But the process is very simple. You simply go to UDescribe, you log in with your credentials that you can get from the website, and you watch any YouTube video you want. And while you're watching that video, you can pause it and record a description. And then when you're done recording that description, you resume playing the video, and when you want to insert another description, you pause it again and record another description. And you can do that until you're done. And those descriptions then are uploaded to our website, and anyone who watches that video through UDescribe will then hear not only the audio of they'll be able to watch the YouTube video, but they will also, when it gets to the places where you recorded your description, it'll pause the video, play your description, and resume the video. And it does it very, very nicely without a lot of extra time. It turns out that that this is a very nice way, especially for people who don't have a lot of experience doing recording description, to be able to do this, because traditional description requires very careful timing, very careful editing, and a lot of precision. This allows you to be a little bit less precise about how you record your descriptions, but to be able to provide the descriptions and share them with everyone nevertheless. I want to point out, by the way, that UDescribe does not copy the YouTube video, and it doesn't change the YouTube video in any way. All it does is stream the YouTube video to your desktop, but it pauses it when it wants to play pieces of the description. So really all we're doing is synchronizing this new descriptive information along with the original YouTube video. So it's extremely non-invasive. I want to, of course, point out that there are many resources on UDescribe. There's a support link on the website where you can certainly get an enormous amount of additional information about how to describe, what types of things to say, what types of things not to say, what sorts of descriptions blind viewers will find useful for different types of videos, whether it's a Khan Academy video or a kitten video. There are guidelines and suggestions about how to record an effective set of descriptions. So one of the things that I will suggest is that when you're recording a description, you watch it a couple of times, when you watch the video a couple of times before starting to record, so that you know pretty much what you want to say and when you want to say it. A little bit of preparation goes a long way in creating audio description, even for amateurs. So I want to introduce some of our panelists. I want to just talk to some of our panelists, and I'm going to start with Greg Corrett. As I mentioned, Greg is the Director of Accessible Information Services at the San Francisco Lighthouse for the Blind and Visually Impaired, where we are broadcasting from today. And we're really lucky to have Greg. Greg, can you tell us a little bit about what kind of accessible information your department deals with? What types of accessible media services does the Lighthouse provide?
Sure, Josh. Make sure my mic is active and on. Let me use this one over here. Oh, there we go. Slight delay. Yeah, the cornerstone of our operation has been Braille transcription services, English and Spanish Braille. We've been doing that for decades. Along with that, audio transcription, meaning audio recordings, English and foreign language. Probably our specialty, if we have a niche, it's that we've been taking other types of visually conveyed information and turning them into tactile graphics, and particularly focusing on maps and the like. We've been working on some of the Bay Area transit systems, the Accessible BART Station Map Project, the Accessible Muni Map Project. We've been doing some national parkland, as well as college campuses, things of that nature. some amusement and theme parks that are very popular in this country that I can't name because of contractual obligations, but and other things that don't fit anywhere else at the Lighthouse. So we do some user testing and accessibility testing of websites and softwares and things of that nature.
So has your department done any work in the past with audio description? And if it has or hasn't, I'm curious about sort of why that hasn't been part of your accessible services before.
Yeah, we've done a little bit off and on of audio description. We're a small staff, by the way. Sometimes we are augmented by volunteers who help. And unfortunately, traditionally, what applying description to video has entailed is it's a little higher tech than what we normally do. The software is more demanding to learn. I actually would like nothing better than to just geek out in the studio all day and do AV pre and post production, but unfortunately it's not what I'm paid to do here, and I have a lot of other stuff to do. And the learning curve is such that we haven't really been able to train volunteers effectively to do that, and there's a lot of churn amongst volunteers. So, you know, once you invest a lot of time and effort in getting them up to speed, and then they're sometimey, and then they're off to the next thing. And unfortunately, I've noticed that you know, the people who would have an aptitude to do this, who might actually do it in their professional lives, oftentimes that's not the kind of volunteer opportunity they're looking for. They don't want to do what they do professionally when they're volunteering. They want to do something else.
So, so then it sounds like maybe the technical barriers have been a big factor. How do you see the availability of UDescribe, this sort of simple web-based tool for adding audio description to YouTube videos? Is that how do you see that fitting into the services that that your department provides at the Lighthouse?
I mean, it fits brilliantly because, I mean, video-based, especially, you know, distributed on YouTube and the like, it's just ubiquitous now. I mean, every business entity, individuals, everybody is publishing video. And this particular system that you developed it's so easy to use, there really is no learning curve, which means that for those like myself and people I work with who are pressed for time and don't have a lot of time to throw at a project like this, we can do it quickly. And as far as getting volunteers on board, you know, the training really just becomes writing the content, you know, learning how to describe effectively.
So this is possibly one more item that the Lighthouse can add to its menu of fee-for-service options that it can offer to the community of the business community and the blind community.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Greg. I know that you said that you might have to make an early escape, but I really appreciate you making the time, and again, I really appreciate the Lighthouse hosting us here today. My next guest, Rick Boggs, is the executive director of AudioEyes, which is an accessible media company in Los Angeles. Rick, thank you so much for coming up and joining us here today. You've been in the business of audio description. You're one of very few blind professionals in the business of audio description. You've been doing it for well over a decade, and you have an enormous amount of experience both creating and consuming audio description. I'm just wondering, how do you see a tool like UDescribe changing the landscape of how description works?
I love the question because it establishes two things that I know to be true. It is a tool, and a valuable tool, and it does change the landscape. There's no question about it. It's a small community in this country of professional audio describers, and it takes, part of the reason is because it requires so much effort on the part of a person to become proficient. You learn how to do it, and then if you're doing professional description and for a variety of purposes. So it's a small community, and I think a tool like this, where anybody, my brother, my sister, my grandmother, my kids, could get onto the computer and make a YouTube video accessible for me, that they would be thrilled and excited and care about and want to share with me, but they don't, the idea of, well, let's hope and wait until some professional gets around to describing this, or maybe somebody pays for it or whatever. It's never really going to happen. They're not going to put in the effort. It leaves me out of the loop of a social circle. This kind of a tool addresses a huge problem of the ever-increasing divide, the digital divide between blind people and sighted people, and it promotes this use of digital media all the time in classrooms and work and pleasure and fun and families sharing things via social media. It's a ripe opportunity for exclusion for myself. And so this tool you describe makes it simple, it makes it accessible, it makes it actually possible. And now it's just an awareness game of how many people can we spread the news to, so that my sister finds some video on YouTube that she finds amusing, and she's going to share it with all the rest of our family, but she knows all I'm going to hear is some cat meowing or something. You're not going to know what it is. So, but now she can add this description to it, and she doesn't have to get any special training. She doesn't have to go through some certification process. She doesn't have to whatever. Well, I think this kind of a thing can be a little bit of a scary development for professionals in this field like myself, where there's always that, oh yikes, does that mean I'm going to become irrelevant as a professional describer? But it really doesn't. It has a very unique place. It makes possible the distribution of a quantity of description, and many things that never would be described because there's no business model that would ever justify it. They will be described, and they can be described. And this can be incorporated into as a tool for even a professional description production company like AudioEyes, because when we engage clients that are universities, sometimes they're groups of universities, or educational media publishers, for example, and this is just one possible way, but who may have very restrictive budget constraints. They may have a huge quantity of material that needs to be done. Or think about this, what about the very specialized, very highly specific media, educational media content like high sciences or math or whatever, where we would be using this extended style description anyway, this stop video kind of a thing. Well, if the setting, let's say the university, is using videos that are already on YouTube, or they're uploading them to YouTube, if it's a YouTube video pool that's being used, UDescribe is a pretty obvious choice for it. And if further the content is such that you want the extended description, again, YouTube is really an optimal choice. So even a company that is accustomed to providing inline description as a professional service, well, when a law school wants a video on a DVD and they want it to be just like the original but with description and professionally mixed and timed and precise, well, then that's when you do that. But when there's a video on YouTube and you've got to get it a quantity of this stuff done, and there's limited, hey, well then this is the tool that solves that problem.
So you actually see the possibility for a company, a professional company like yours, finding a productive way to incorporate UDescribe into certain services?
I have a particular college in mind and a problem that came up in our company recently this summer, and that where UDescribe is really the only solution. And we are very creative at AudioEyes about look, I'd say, I don't know the exact number, but it's probably 35–40% of our staff are totally blind professionals. We care. We are invested. We want things to be described. We don't want to say, someone calls us and says, we'd like to get this video described. We never want to say, no, we can't do that because, one, you don't have a budget sufficient to do it, or for any reason. We don't want to say no. If someone, because think about it, most people either don't know what description is, or they're being pushed into describing their media by some law that they don't like, and they feel, I say that most of our customers are hostile. They don't really want to do the service. They do it because they feel they have to. When you get somebody that wants to describe something, you've got to say yes no matter what. And UDescribe makes that possible, because think about it, as a company, if the client doesn't have a budget, and if the movie is on YouTube, it's a minimal investment on our part to get a staff member who's trained and experienced and knows description to just get up and log in, do the description, provide it for the client, job done, description delivered, and that's what we're about. We're mission based, So I absolutely do. I think, like I said, without going into specifics about specific situations, I do have in mind situations where, even for a professional production company, YouDescribe is really the best solution.
So Rick, recently a professor at UC Berkeley came to me and wanted to use YouDescribe as a platform for some final projects for her students, where she would assign students to do descriptions, not necessarily specifically only for Access, but also to do some, with a little bit of creativity and analysis perhaps thrown in there. Can you think of any other sort of creative or interesting possibilities that a tool like YouDescribe opens up?
Well, any type of non-traditional description or something that might not even be called description because of the kind of information that it's providing. For example, context or background. I've heard some description from Europe where the description producers decide to try to inject a lot of background or context for a particular film that they're describing. That, in my view, it's not. I'd rather have the description of what's on the screen for that entertainment product. But wouldn't it be cool to have? And this is what YouDescribe does. No one's going to find a budget to describe something 3 or 4 or 5 different ways. One way in which they're providing historical context or context about the actors. I mean, think about it. Some consumers that watch films, and one of the guys on our staff that's an absolute film expert and above, you show him any film, anybody that's in that film, and I mean even what we would call maybe minor unknown actors, he'll know what else they've been in, what else they've done, because it's just his passion, his interest. Well, you could insert that kind of information. You could have YouDescribe versions where the description includes recognition of these people and their other practices. And so almost like IMDb type information. I mean, that's just one idea.
One of the cool things about YouDescribe, as you say, is that it does allow different describers to record different descriptions for the same video, and the user can then choose which of the descriptions they want to listen to. So that's a great point. Thank you.
To finish up, John, I think the key point to remember is that YouDescribe is a YouTube-based project at this time, and that it's let's put it this way, it's ideal for YouTube videos. It's because they are so numerous, ubiquitous. They're everywhere, and because there's such a huge content, and the type of content is all over the map, and there's rarely a budget to do any of it in the more formal, traditional way. That it's the best tool for that, and like we just said, it gives. What a great place to experiment and see what do people like and what do they find fun.
Thanks a ton, Rick, and thanks for being here today. And I also want to point out that YouDescribe is actually a demonstration technology. There's no reason why this exact same type of solution can't be applied to any other online streamed video. We started with a YouTube player that can handle synchronizing the descriptions, but any video player is possible. So if there are video platforms that we like Vimeo or Netflix or Amazon On Demand or any other streamed video, this is a possible solution. This is one of the ways that type of video could be made accessible. So it's an extremely we're using YouDescribe and YouTube as our starting point, but the Video Description Research and Development Center is sort of coming from a perspective that believes this is the way video description may be delivered in the future. Not necessarily all by amateurs, but certainly by synchronizing multiple streams by the user and giving the user the control. I want to take a break here so that we can take some questions from our viewers, and I also want to remind us that coming up in a few minutes we're going to be discussing accessibility with Lucy Greco of UC Berkeley, and also Ryan Honey and other participants from the Braille Institute in Los Angeles and how they're using UDescribe. So I'd like to see if there are any questions at this point. Kyle, do we have any questions?
Yes, John Brandt asks, does UDescribe system also work in concert with closed captioning system built into YouTube?
Thank you for that question. Our player is currently not, we have not enabled the captions. It is something that we could certainly provide those captions through from YouTube. If YouTube has the captions, then we would be able to provide them. Unfortunately, the current player is not enabled for captions, but that is something that we will be working on shortly. It's primarily, well, there's only, we're also working with a limited set of engineers, and it's absolutely one of our priorities, and we will be enabling captions soon, but not yet. Other questions?
Josh, that's all the questions we have at this time.
All right. I'll also mention that, of course, if captions are what you want and you don't need description, you can, of course, go straight to YouTube to get those captions. Kyle, can you remind folks how to submit questions, and that we'll be taking questions again at the end?
Absolutely. Questions may be submitted via the webinar chat box underneath the video stream. They may also be emailed to webinar@dcmp.org. So either of those methods can be used, and we will voice those questions.
Thank you so very much. Lucy, welcome. Thank you for being patient. Is your microphone turned on?
It is. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for having me, Josh.
Thank you. Lucy is the web accessibility analyst for UC Berkeley, and boy, UC Berkeley. I'm going to, full disclosure. I attended UC Berkeley, and I'm a proud alumnus or alumna. I should know how to say that, I guess, having attended UC Berkeley. But UC Berkeley is a very large institution. How many students do you have approximately? Is it like?
We have approximately 35,000 students split evenly between grads and undergrads.
And can you tell us about how are big universities like UC Berkeley these days using video as instructional materials for their students? For, these 35,000 students.
Instructors are using videos. I mean, we've always had the classroom with video technology. When you think about the fact, those of us of a certain age remember going through elementary school, even going through university, instructors would show a video, and it would always be a big process. They'd bring in the big TV set and the VCR, and they'd show us the video. Now that it's simple and easy, and they all have laptops in each of the rooms, they're using video much, much more frequently. A video can be played, they can play 6 different videos throughout a lecture to show something that they wouldn't otherwise be able to show. So a chemistry instructor might go to a website to view videos on how to show chemical processes during their lecture, or maybe an engineering instructor will show videos on how to build a bridge properly during their lecture and point out different things with video content in the classroom. And it's something that nowadays we take for granted, that you want to show something, just show it on a video. UC Berkeley also is taking many of our lectures and putting them online. We have a goal to eventually put all of our classes on YouTube, and those would be available for free to anyone around the world to actually take a lecture, watch it. You won't get a grade in the class, but you can virtually attend an entire UC Berkeley class online. Many of those classes have visual content that needs to be described, which currently is not being described.
So that's actually a great lead into my next question. So how are universities like UC Berkeley addressing video accessibility for blind students?
At this point, we're not. We're hiring somebody, if a student is taking a class, to sit with them and maybe describe the stuff in person. Maybe a professor is sitting down with the student and doing it all manually. A tool like UDescribe would permit us to have not only that student get the experience equally to the other students, but then we have something to add to our archives. Berkeley is addicted to archiving everything we do. Let's put it that way. We want to have things around for posterity for years and years and years to come. We feel it's part of our mission as part of public service that, we offer something, it's going to be available to everyone, from here to eternity. So if we had something like you describe, and a student, right now, if a student needs it, we do it. Somehow or other, we're going to find a way to do it for a student. But a tool like you describe will mean that the simplest possible way a professor wants a student who's visually impaired to watch a video, they can go in, they can describe that video for them instantly, and then provide them the link, and it's right there. But then that link will last forever for somebody else to be able to describe it.
Do you think that a tool like you describe will fit in well with the UC Berkeley's current approach to accessible instructional materials?
My dream is that it would actually alleviate some of the burden on the current system, in that currently, it's a small group of people whose responsibility to make sure that students with disabilities get accommodated, and that it can go back to the creators of content and back to the professors who are saying to a student, you must watch this video to do it. But I think, you describe is so simple and so easy to use. I mean, we sat down with you a few weeks ago, had a training on how to use YouDescribe, and it took 3 minutes to get, a person new to accessibility up and running in the system. And that's something that would actually assist in this modern age of academic institutions that don't have time, don't have money. I can see a faculty member actually using this. There's so many other tools that are out there that faculty members won't use, that they'll throw up their hands in disgust and say somebody else has to deal with it. I think YouDescribe is simple enough that faculty would actually like to do it themselves.
That's great. Well, I think it's really exciting. Thank you so much for being here with us, Lucy, and for talking to us about how this is going to fit in with the higher education component. And I want to again check in with our folks on the phone. We have from the Braille Institute in Los Angeles, we have Ryan and Nancy. And Nancy, I'm avoiding your last name because I'm afraid of it. Can you say it for me again?
You're not the first one. Don't worry about it. It's Niebrugge.
Okay. It's spelled Niebrugge, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, and Ryan, you're there? Ryan Honey? Yeah. And thank you both for being here with us. The Braille Institute has done something really amazing. Basically, I asked you to come because you've created a bunch of material on YouDescribe, and I didn't even know that you were doing it, and all of a sudden I looked on YouDescribe, and there was a bunch of Braille Institute material. So it appears that the Braille Institute uses a lot of video for its outreach and communications. Can you talk a little bit about how the Braille Institute uses video in its outreach work?
Sure. The great thing about using video when you're an organization like ours, given the social media explosion that we've experienced in the last decade, is you can reach a lot of people for not very much cost, and you can tell your story and get it out there to the audiences. So we really made a commitment in the last several years, when I'm no longer working with Nancy's team, just recently, but we spent a lot of time working together on a great portion of the library that's the YouTube library that Braille Institute now has, and really just trying to tell our story and get it out there. And we found that videos were one of the most effective ways to get little pieces of information about all the services that we offer. We offer quite a range of services, and so the short 3 to 5 minute videos, or even less, showing the direct services that we offer, we found to be very, very effective tools in telling our story. And so we kind of went all in and started cranking them out.
So have you guys used have you done video description work before in the past?
Yeah, actually, we have a a long history of videos. We have done them every year for our annual meeting of board members and general guests and interested parties in Braille Institute. If you're familiar with the Braille Challenge, we've done highlight videos of the Braille Challenge for the last decade. So we've actually always had a pretty strong communications department that has allowed us to do different types of videos. We've also captured on video when we've had doctors come and be guest speakers at Braille, and that's been enabled us to share that information with whoever wanted it. So we've actually have a long history of videos. UDescribe gives us an opportunity to really get just as good at making sure they're all described. That's been a challenge for us in the past.
Yeah, we've done some work with description in the past. Our Dots for Tots and Tactiles program, which promotes Braille literacy for young kids, has a component where the books are described as part of the kit. So we send the kids a voiceover version of someone reading the book and then a voiceover version with audio description. But as Rick was pointing out earlier, it could be very time-consuming to do that, as we found. And so we've dipped our toe when needed into audio describing our videos. But UDescribe opened the floodgates. It made it possible for us to just say, we're going to do all of our videos described, period.
So I'm sorry, I want to apologize to the listening audience. Just the audio from our phone connection is a little bit muddy, and I apologize for that. But it sounds like you guys have a lot of video that you use for communication and outreach and dissemination of your programs, and it sounds like description is an important part of that. So can you tell me a little bit about how the Braille Institute has started using UDescribe to basically make its YouTube videos more accessible for blind viewers?
Well, UDescribe is it's the perfect tool at the perfect time. About a year ago, I think it was, Nancy came to me and said, look, we've got this great library of video content, and very little of it is audio described, and we're Braille Institute, and that simply can't be the case. And so we started looking at ways to get everything described, and in a lot of cases it just wasn't feasible. It would change in terms of the cost that we would have to incur to do it, and the way the videos have been cut. We were really trying to wrap our heads around it, and then you introduced me to UDescribe, and it really just was the answer. That the simple ability to pause the video and add in the description of whatever kind the describer chooses to put in, really changed the game. So we went ahead and had one of our regular volunteers who's been a part of our team for 20 years and loves working with us. We gave it to him as a project, and he's really run with it. And I could see moving forward recruiting other volunteers to give different descriptions, different styles, different takes, because there's no reason that you couldn't have multiple descriptions of the same video and hear a slightly different version.
That's totally great. So you said you use volunteer. What has your experience been using volunteer labor for a job like this? I mean, we know that volunteers are good at some stuff and not always good at other stuff. Was it difficult to train the volunteer on how to do this?
I think I'd have to say we're pleasantly surprised, because our volunteer is used to going on script. In other words, he's used to knowing what to say when we script him for general voiceover. With UDescribe, he's now making that judgment call of what needs to be described, and it appears to be very seamless. He's taken this on, and I think based on all the resources that you've put on your website, the frequently asked questions, how to do it, what the techniques are, he's taken that and internalized it and is doing a very good job. We certainly see that we've got one person doing it. As we extend this, there's going to be room for us to grow, to develop our own best practices on how to use the tool and what we'd like to see more of. But just coming out of the gate with virtually very little training and instruction, he's done a wonderful job.
And I do think, Josh, one of the things for some of your listeners at larger organizations or universities who are thinking about using this, I think one of the advantages to UDescribe when working with volunteers is that you can really give the volunteer ownership of what they're creating. Obviously, you want to have oversight to make sure that that it's appropriate and it's doing the job. But one of the nice things is they're not just reading the script that someone else wrote and coming in and recording it and that's it. It's their voice, it's their words. It's their username as the describer. It really gives them ownership of their little channel of descriptions, and that's a powerful form of engagement for our volunteer.
Yeah, it makes them want to do more.
I totally agree. And one of the plans we have for UDescribe is tighter integration with social media like Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus, so that people can brag about the descriptions that they're creating, and that's part of incentivizing people to create more of it, and part of getting the word out there about what's been done. I want to.
Hi, Josh. I'll just share a quick little anecdote.
Yeah.
Our describer, Jim Hall, who does it for us and does it so well, he has actually put on his personal website a link to all the videos he describes. So a great example of the describer's desire to promote the work that they're doing. So it's on our website as well as his, and I think you'll see more of that, people wanting to share the work that they're doing.
That's extremely cool. Well, and I've listened to many of the videos that Jim has created, the descriptions he's created, and he's doing a great job. So, well, thank you, Ryan and Nancy, for being with us. Stick around, and I'm gonna go a little bit off schedule because Jason says that we have a few questions from the audience. So I'd like to sort of step in and take a few audience questions now, and then we'll go to some more discussion.
Okay, great, Josh. I have several here, so cut me off when you need to jump back on schedule.
Sure.
First question, since you are not hosting the YouTube video, if the content owner has disabled embedding of their content, will it be available for UDescribe?
It will still be viewable on UDescribe, but it will not be embeddable via UDescribe, I believe. That's a great question, and I'm not actually sure if I have run into any situations like that. So maybe the person with that question could send me an email with an example video that is embedded, and we can do an experiment, and we can correspond about it. But I believe that it would still not be embeddable.
Okay, great. Next question. Do you anticipate making the recording of description iPad or tablet compatible?
Yes, we do. The vast majority of people that are consuming video are not sitting at their desks. They are sitting on the bus or in a library with their iPad, or in their living room on their couch with their other, with their tablet of their choice. The player that we are currently using is a Flash-based player, so iOS doesn't really play well with it, and there are other issues about player compatibility with mobile tablets. It is one of our absolute highest priorities, actually, to create a probably first an iOS version, because the demographics support that. There are more blind people currently using iOS devices, but shortly we're eager to create a solution that will work for all tablets. And the reason why we wouldn't probably be able to create a cross-platform mobile solution is that it almost definitely needs to be app-based rather than web app-based. And I don't want to get too technical, but we would love to make it a one-size-fits-all solution, but probably we will need to write apps for each platform that we want to support. So that requires engineering resources, and it is absolutely our highest priority.
Okay,
or
great.
One of them, anyway.
Is there some type of mentoring network for non-professional audio describers who may want to get involved?
That is a great question. There are all sorts of description resources and description communities. You can start on our website on UDescribe, look at the support links and the frequently asked questions. There are links there to many, many other resources about description, including discussion forum lists. I don't know of a discussion forum or an email list that specifically supports amateur or professional development of describers. Rick, do you happen to know of one that a good resource for that?
I've been involved in the planning of this, but no, at the moment it isn't available online, but it's coming.
Next question.
How has YouTube responded, if at all? And have you thought about having some type of notice or icon pop up on YouTube site if a video is available via YouDescribe?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. So we have actually created some experimental browser plugins. So a browser plugin is like a little thing that just sort of, you install it in your browser, and it would just basically sit there and watch for YouTube video links and check to see if there's a description available for that link. So if there were a description available, it would let you play either the original link or the described version, and it would also allow you to decide to, if you were a registered YouDescribe user, to create a description right from there. If you find a link that's a YouTube video that is not described or that you think you could do a better job on, you could just click a link that would pop up in your browser to create a new description for that video. So the browser plugin is the way to go with that, and we will be probably releasing a couple of different browser plugins in the next year. YouTube, Google certainly knows about YouDescribe, and they think it's cool. We haven't gotten any official response from them, but some of the people at Google who know about it say that they think it's cool. There is currently no discussion about directly integrating YouDescribe with YouTube. Although, obviously, the more accessibility we can build into mainstream products, the better. So it would be an excellent solution ultimately. Other questions?
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about the laws involved with description? It was my understanding that only Section 508 includes description and only for federal agencies who are providing training videos.
I don't believe I can address the laws around video, but what I can tell you is that when you're using instructional materials that are video and they're not accessible to blind students, those blind students are not benefiting from those materials if they're not described. So I'm not sure what the law says, but as a blind person who sat through an awful lot of undescribed video material, I can tell you that it's better to have it described in almost every circumstance. So as far as the law goes, the American Foundation for the Blind, one of our Description Leadership Network partners, has done an awful lot of work on video description and policy and legislation. And I would refer you to the American Foundation for the Blind, afb.org, for any real policy analysis around video description. Does anybody on the panel want to address that question?
Well, my simple response is that I don't think your understanding of the law the way that you stated is accurate, and so if you do a little bit more research, I think you'll find that there's much more legislative support for description as an accommodation.
Okay, so
actually, Josh.
Yes.
Sorry, it's Lucy here. We find that if a student needs description as their accommodation, we have to provide it no matter which way it is. This will just make it easier for us to do it. So we had students taking classes that required them to watch videos. Like I said, we've had to hire readers to sit with that student and describe it for them. So, I mean, if a student's needing it in a classroom, there's no question asked. It just needs to be described.
So, Jason, do we have more questions?
Yeah, we do have a couple additional ones here. Can the described video be downloaded when we send the link of the video to a student, will the student have to log in to a UDescribe account to access it?
The student does not have to log into a UDescribe account. Anybody can view any of the descriptions without logging in, but you cannot download the YouTube video or the description currently. So you have to be connected to the internet.
Okay, great. And then final two questions I'm going to combine here. Is it possible to edit the original video description you create, or do you have to start from scratch if you make a mistake? And then from the same individual, do you know if the UDescribe website is accessible to those using screen reader assistive technology?
Great questions. Both of those are great questions. So yes, you can edit your descriptions. You can basically, once you record a description for a video is basically a set of audio clips that are associated with that video and played at specific times. So you can, if you decide you don't like any of those clips, you can delete them or re-record them. And soon we will be providing tools to enable you to move them around in the video timeline. So if you decide that you came in a little bit too early or a little bit too late, you can actually push it one way or another without re-recording it. But yes, there is editing capability. The website is accessible. I would say it's accessible probably, I believe it is probably not compliant with many guidelines that would be, we haven't looked at its compliance, but many blind people are using it and using the recording tools. We have not done an accessibility evaluation other than just the de facto people are using it and able to use all of the functions. So yes, it is functionally accessible. There may be some technical accessibility problems with it, but I don't think that they'd be major. So we are coming to the end of our time. So I want to give a couple of quick questions to our panelists, and maybe just a quick round the group. Lucy, what other types of uses outside of your organization do you think UDescribe should be considered for? Any thoughts about that? I'm going to ask the same question to all three.
So
here.
I see so many videos being passed around in social media, being passed around in general, that I've just wanted to know what they're doing. A blindness organization I deal very closely with, for example, last year sent out a video to all its affiliates of one of their major buildings being destroyed. You know, it was like a landmark building. The building was being destroyed, and the entire audio track was bulldozers, and that's it. So, you know, a historical moment they wanted to mark it in time, and we couldn't get it. You know, the main people that this organization deals with, their customer base is all blind. They sent us a video of a soundtrack of a bulldozer, as far as I'm concerned. It was disheartening. It was sad. It was generally sad. But another situation, I've been working with a major science publisher who has said that, you know, they produce hundreds of videos on some of their articles that they produce, and they would like these videos described, not for blind people, but for everyone. They would like a tool to be able to describe these scientific articles that have these video snippets in them. You know, give the author of the article a tool to actually point out what needs to be seen. You know, a video is something that a person can consume, and what they consume is very individual and very personalized. Somebody who's producing that video has a certain message they want to get across. You know, description adds another tool for the video author, video director, whatever you may want to call them, to get the right message through. You know, I'm showing you this video not to show you the cute cat sitting on the sofa, but to show you that cats are smart and know how to get that pillow up so
Although,
that
of
they can
course,
jump up. But yeah, I
There
mean,
are plenty of cute cats out there. in the
exactly,
world,
there
so-
are plenty of cute cats. So the descriptive is what I'm saying is giving people the opportunity to enhance the message that they're trying to produce with that particular video.
Thank you. Rick Boggs, any thoughts about what you described might be used for outside of your organization?
I think that what I'm really concerned about is the videos that blind youth are missing out on. Their peers are passing videos, they're making jokes, they're laughing, they're entertained, they think something's cool, they're learning things, whatever it is that they're doing. Digital media is a part of youth culture now in a way that we've never seen before. And it bothers me that the blind members of this community are missing out. And so this is a twofold benefit of you describe here. One, it gives a tool for their peers to describe it, and so that the blind peers get it, blind youth can hear about it. But second, it makes their sighted peers conscious and more capable and more sort of emotionally educated about their own blind peers.
Thank you, Rick. Greg, any thoughts?
Well, certainly Braille Institute hit on the head. Within the organization, video is probably the most effective way for the Lighthouse to advertise our services. So outreach and communication via social media. Outside of the office, I think it's just going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people. I mean, what did we all do before YouTube, right? Now at parties, everybody at 3 a.m. is watching YouTube videos in the living room, but now we can all get together and describe them and just have a hoot doing it.
Thank you, Greg. Ryan and Nancy, any thoughts about how you describe might be used outside of your organization?
I think the one thing that comes to mind is similar to in the university setting, video is becoming very embedded in the K through 12 educational setting. Textbooks now are multimedia, kids are getting iPads, visually impaired kids are getting refreshable displays that pair with those iPads, so describing video in an educational setting seems crucial. I think it's even coming to the testing setting, so as Ryan said, it's the right time.
Yep. Thank you very much. I want to thank all of my participants, Ryan Honey and Nancy Nibrugi from the Braille Institute in Los Angeles. I want to thank Lucy Greco from the University of California at Berkeley. Thank you to Rick Boggs, Executive Director of Audio Eyes in Los Angeles. Greg Corrett, thank you very much. And thank you to the San Francisco Lighthouse for the Blind and Visually Impaired for hosting our webcast. And I want to thank, of course, DCMP for supporting us and assisting with all of the logistical issues that this webinar entails. And thank you to all of our other partners, CaptionMax and Decapta, for providing accessibility, captioning, as well as translation. And of course, thank you to the Department of Education for funding and supporting the work that we do. Thank you for being part of this webinar. Thank you, everyone. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can certainly write to us at vdrdc@ski.org. All of the information and this webinar will be archived at webinars.dcmp.org. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.
Funding for the VDRDC in this webinar was provided by the U.S. Department of Education under grant number H327J110005. However, the contents of this webinar do not necessarily represent the policy of the U.S. Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government.